Good morning, good afternoon, whatever time of day it is that you are listening, folks. Thank you very, very much for listening. Today is the 7th of March, year of our Lord 2025. Welcome to yet another edition of the Coping Hour, hosted by Nicholas Engel, a.k.a. Motanoa. There was no Monday show. There was no show on Monday. What happened? Why wasn't there a show on Monday? Mondays and Fridays. That's always how it goes. Yeah, it's just one of those days. But what's weird is the reason that there wasn't an episode on Monday wasn't because there was something going on with me. It was actually just because there ended up being so much stuff that got in the way. It was just kind of a life moment, a hashtag life moment, where we were just running so many errands throughout the day that by the time we got home, I sit down, I'm like, well, the Oscars are tonight. I want to record the show before the Oscars happens because otherwise I'm going to be up all night. And the TLDR is we just had too much going on, right? And so I just wasn't able to get it in the can because I was like, you know what, dude, just enjoy the Oscars, get drunk, have fun, and, you know, we'll maybe do a late episode, but we'll still get two in the can. No, that's not what happened. Let me tell you something. I tried to turn on the Oscars on Sunday night because everything that had been communicated to me was that it would be available to stream on Hulu. And so the time comes, hey, the Oscars are starting. I'm watching the red carpet like an asshole for 2 hours. And then it's like, oh, the show's about to start. Record scratch, freeze frame. You're probably wondering how I got here. Hulu shut down. The first 15 minutes, I'm like, wait, why isn't the stream working? Why isn't this working? I go to Down Detector. Hulu, 36,000 reports of being down within the first 15 minutes of the Oscars even. Oh, so it's not just me. Okay, so it's not just me. I go to Reddit, r/Hulu. Can you imagine that such a place even exists? Rest assured it does. r/Hulu, going berserk. Why can't I watch the Oscars? Why can't I watch the Oscars? A lot of people didn't get to watch the Oscars, folks. Eventually, Hulu did get it together, and people were able to watch it. But I guess the stream also ended like right before they were about to do, I don't know if it was Best Actor or Best Picture, I don't know what it was. People just didn't get to see a lot of the Oscars who were led to believe that it would have been streamable on Hulu, when in fact it was not. So it was a very spiteful performance for me that I said, fuck it, I don't care, I'm just... And that is really hard for me, okay? I know some of you have only... Look, I don't want to sound like the guy who... Why don't I just say what I'm going to say? I don't know if there's a night that matters to me more as a man than the Oscars. When I say it's my Super Bowl, like the Super Bowl is one thing. I love the Super Bowl. But the Oscars is really like the night that I get up for, right? Because I just love celebrity. I love it so much. And when you just pack so many of them into a room and they got these extravagant, these beautiful, these gorgeous outfits on, and they give their little speeches, and we recognize all of them. We anoint them. We acknowledge that all of them exist. I love it so much. For me to say, fuck it, I don't care, I thought was an indictment on two things. One, I must be really going through it if I was able to that easily punt on being able to watch the... I was just like, whatever, it's fine, I don't care. Whatever, it's fine, I don't care. Must have some other stuff going on that I was easily able to give up on something that I care about that much. The second piece of it is watching these live stream... I don't want to say live stream platforms. That's not the right way to say it. Streaming platforms, though, handling live events, or rather lack thereof, their inability to handle live events. I don't know if it's a servers thing. I don't know what it is. You think about the Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight. Sure, most of us would have been better off not watching that fight at all to begin with. But it's the principle of the thing that if we're paying the subscription fee, we should be able to watch this thing. And then when suddenly we're not able to do that, when they can't handle the traffic, it feels bad, and I think that's where some of the spite comes from, where I'm like, you know what, man, I can't believe that we're doing this again. We are literally reinventing the wheel with cable as far as all of these streamers are concerned. Because, like, how many cable packages can you purchase today, right now, where like 3 or 4 of the major streamers will be included in that cable package. It's not that uncommon. It's really not that uncommon. How many, cable subscription aside, how many packages are there where it's like, oh, you can get Prime and Disney Plus and HBO all for $20.99 a month. You're like, this is cable. You guys are just doing cable again. That's what's happening right now. Okay, so we're doing that. No, I didn't get to watch the Oscars. I don't have literally any takes on it. I watched Conan's monologue after the fact. It was exactly what I thought it was going to be, where I was fine. I thought it was fine. Made a joke halfway through where he was like, well, we're halfway through the show, so it's time to bring out Kendrick Lamar so we can call Drake a pedophile. Haha. It's funny. Pop culture joke, something that we're all in on. You bump elbows with the person sitting next to you. Hey, I saw the Super Bowl. Cool. Here's another question as a take to the subculture of that whole thing. When the fuck do we get over it? We get it. Kendrick won. We get it. I'm not doing the thing where I'm like, I care more about Drake. And so at this point, I don't even care about that anymore, right? So that's not what this is. But like at some point, everything has to have a cap on it, right? Everything has to end. I think about Ryan Gosling and playing Ken, where like he went on this whole thing and everywhere he went after Barbie came out, Ken, I'm just Ken. He does the Oscars, I'm just Ken. Anywhere else I'd be a 10. We get it. He does SNL and he's like, I think this is the last time I'm going to talk about the fact that I am literally Ken. And guess what? It was. Because at some point, this shit has to end. A sub-take to the subculture on that whole thing. You didn't really get that from Margot Robbie. She was literally Barbie, by the way. You never really saw Margot Robbie going around being like, I'm literally Barbie. Anywhere else, I'm Margot Robbie. But in this instance, I'm fucking Barbie. Literally. You didn't see that from her. Maybe it was because she didn't have some extravagant musical number where it was such a beautiful and encapsulating song. I don't know what it is. The point that I'm trying to make here is like, so when do we get over the fact that Kendrick won? And that by every conceivable metric, dusted Drake. Whether it's in court, whether it's on the charts, whether it's on television, streaming, the guy does the fucking Super Bowl, people are making jokes about him. Like, when does this end? Is my question. And I just feel like, are we ready as a culture to move on yet? I guess we're not ready to move on yet. Okay, I'll let people get some jokes off because we're not quite at a year yet. It hasn't quite been a year since the Kendrick and Drake stuff happened. We're about a month and a half, about 2 months away from that being like, all right, that happened a year ago. Can we talk about something else? But I don't know if that's really fair of me to say because it truly was something that I don't know if we will see for the rest of our lives. At least for most of you listening to this who are, of a certain age, in 20 years from now, when there's another rap beef that really rivals this in a major way, will we like, I don't know. It's a very rare moment that we observed culturally a year ago, Kendrick versus Drake. I don't know if it's fair of me to say, is it time can we fucking get over it? We get it. Both of them, by this point, have released full-length albums. We are on to the next thing. I guess culturally we're not, though. Sonically, we are, as far as their discographies are concerned. Culturally, we're not yet, though. Which, I'm not going to sit here and say that Drake has a point in doing all of the lawsuit stuff, but this is exactly what he's talking about, where he's like, well, do I really want to? Fuck it, I'm doing it. I'm just going to do it. Because it's like, okay, well, if you're defaming the fuck out of me, and it's the only thing that anybody clearly still wants to talk about, like, that's not cool. And some of you out there are going to be like, well, Nick, haven't you seen the fucking, Drake's a pedophile, and he does all this shit. Anything that was said in that beef, anything, whether it was from Drake or whether it's from Kendrick, all of it was conjecture. Like, none of it was real. All of it was circumstantial fucking TikTok evidence to begin with. And so I think it's so funny that the one thing that we clinged to culturally was the fact that Drake was a pedophile. The one thing that we like didn't was when Drake was like, you beat the fuck out of your wife. And what? Because Kendrick put her in a music video? People are like, well, clearly that shit didn't happen. I don't know. I'm not defending either of them one way or another. I'm just saying it's interesting that there's one piece of it that we focused on because we really, really liked the song. Kendrick won. It's not even close. Like, there's not a discussion to be had. I'm dusting my hands. The lawsuit shit from Drake is super weak. I'm not really trying to have this conversation, despite the fact that I've spent the first, apparently, 10 minutes of the show trying to have this conversation. Try to zoom out on the whole thing and understand where I'm coming from. It's over. I'm over it here at home, even if I can look back on it and be like, and can I give a subtake to the subculture on this whole thing? Why do we talk about Not Like Us like it's the Mona Lisa? We should be talking about Euphoria. Euphoria is the craziest, 5 minutes, 4.5 minutes, however long it is, I think that Kendrick has put out in his entire career. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Section 80, Good Kid, Mad City, Damn, GNX, Mr. Morale. You can throw out whatever you want. I think Euphoria will stand the test of time. And it will be Not Like Us that people always, go back to. It's just culturally, and I feel like I've said that word a lot so far. As far as the mainstream, the zeitgeist is concerned, Not Like Us will be the song from the whole beef that people talk about. But it's like, I think Euphoria fundamentally was the better song. And I think he got his shit off in a more convincing and somehow more concise way, even though it's a longer song, than Not Like Us actually did. And that's not even, by the way, I think Not Like Us is like the third best song in the whole beef. I think Euphoria is number one. Family Matters. I think Family Matters is number two. And then I think it's Not Like Us. But because Not Like Us has all of the snappier certified lover boy, certified pedophile, OV ho, all this shit. Name a bar from that song. Because it has all of the more snappier stuff that's stuck with you, it will be perceived as the better song. I don't actually believe that is the case, though. So that's everything that I just said in the last 13 minutes of the show is why there wasn't a show on Monday. What have I been doing this week, though, in the meantime? There was a video that was circulating on Reddit. It was about 3 or 4 days this week. I could not escape this video. I don't know where all of you were at in the digital spaces that you hang out in. There's a video that was circulating of a blind woman hugging a bodybuilder. And she hugs this man, and she's like, whoa, she's like touchy-feely. She's like, what is this? She's like, I can't believe what this is. And this is a very visual joke, what I'm doing, for those of you who can't watch today's show. She's doing a lot of this. She's just all touchy-feely. What the hell is this? I thought to myself, it's rare that you watch something happen in real time, and you're able to identify it and be like, oh my God, that's a TV show. That's 2 seasons. That is 2 seasons of let's make blind people feel funny shit that they've never felt before and just see if they go wild. Just like see what happens. Putting a bodybuilder in front of a blind person, that's the funniest shit I've ever seen in my life. Are you kidding me? Look this video up. I promise it'll come up. It'll be the first video. You'll know exactly what I'm talking about. The guy goes to walk away all right, stop fucking touching me. And she's clearly not done. She's looking off into space where did you go? Where did this guy go? And so I'm just thinking what else could we make? Because do you want it to be a thing where I'm thinking of it you have to sort of blend 2 categories here, right? There's a Venn diagram somewhere of food YouTubers, right? They'll do a blind taste test of who has the best chicken sandwich in fast food, right? And so they'll be blindfolded and they'll have a couple of, 3, 4, 5 chicken sandwiches in front of them. They'll take a bite or 2 of all of them and they will very literally blindly rank all of them. So it's that style of video, but you put a blind person at a table and you put I don't know, a squishmallow in the middle. For those of you who don't know what a squishmallow, it's just a very soft plush toy. And then to their left is like a scorpion. And then to the right is, I don't know, a king cobra or something. It doesn't just have to be bugs and snakes and shit. But I don't, as I said that out loud, is a scorpion a bug? Did you hear me? I asked, is a scorpion a bug? Probably. It probably is. Because I think when you think of a scorpion, you think of this super venomous, just vicious little creature that you want to get away from, and they're super scary. You Aussies out there, you New Zealanders out there listening to this, you've had your fair share of run-ins with scorpions. I've never seen a scorpion in my life that wasn't part of an exhibit, that wasn't, in like a zoo or something like that. I understand that there are scorpions out there that, while they may look menacing, are actually pretty harmless and small, and as long as you don't mess with them, you'll be fine. It's like a lemon shark. You ever have a run-in with a lemon shark before? Harmless unless provoked is sort of, would be on their chyron as a shark. If a shark was in a 30 for 30, it would say, they're in the little confessional chair, it would say lemon shark, and then right under that, it would say harmless unless provoked. That's a lot of scorpions out there. Do you call them a bug? Is that what that is? You call the exterminator? We're riddled with bugs. And the exterminator shows up, and they're thinking cockroaches, but then it's like a bunch of scorpions. Are they going to be like, whoa, you said bugs. You did not say scorpions. What the? Time out. What is this? Absolutely not. And then I was doing this whole thing, and I was like, look, we've been pretty unfair and unkind to Helen Keller on this program, but I was like, man, how funny would it have been if, in retrospect, Helen Keller does not end up being this extraordinary woman who, despite all of these like physical disabilities, I don't know, writes a book. What if like she was just into like trapping and shit like that? And I'm picturing like a Helen Keller who is on Facebook Live, I don't know, like spreading apart some like AK-47. She's like, look at all that purple. Look how sticky this shit is. Look at this Pineapple Express. She's like showing off all of her product, although the way that she would be describing it would probably be hilarious. If I did an impression, I might just end up bleeping it, so I'm not going to do it because she couldn't talk, which is I don't know. Could she talk? That's talk about conjecture. Could Helen Keller talk? She couldn't see and she couldn't hear, but apparently she could talk. Oh, okay. All right. Maybe. Doubt it. But I'm thinking like Helen Keller, like showing off all the weed that she's got on Facebook Live. Maybe she does like a money spread or something like that. And then pop, 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 pop. You hear in the background some knocking on the door. You hear some whispers, some shuffling of feet. You hear shit getting thrown into closets and people jumping out of windows and shit like that. The phone slaps off of the counter onto the ground. It's face up. All you see is a SWAT team coming in there being like, get the fuck on the ground. Get the fuck on the ground. What are they going to do? Flashbang Helen Keller? She couldn't see and she couldn't hear. They would imagine that. They flashbang Helen Keller and they think she's a goddamn X-Men. She would be completely unfazed by the whole thing. She would be like, because the two like sensory things that happens when you get flashbanged. Although I think there's actually sort of a misconception out there about what a flashbang actually does. I think those can actually kill you. Because it's not like in Call of Duty when, you throw in a flash and it's like a flash and you get that sort of blinding effect. It's not like that at all. It's like a disorienting thing, but it's more like a small explosion. I don't really know how to describe it, but it's not at all what it is. It is meant to disorient you, and so the video game has it right in that regard, but it's not like you get... But it would not do anything to her. And so they would tell her to get on the ground after they flashbanged her 3 times. If this was the Marines, they would have flashbanged her 3 times. If this was the Army, they would have fucking pissed their pants and run away. But if it was the Marines, flash, 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 flash. Well, no, she wouldn't have been, She would have been like, what's up? She'd been like, what's up? She wouldn't have even stopped the IG Live, actually, or the Facebook Live, I should say. It's not an IG Live, it's a Facebook Live. Doing money spreads on oh my God, this just went 6 layers deeper. She wouldn't have heard the knocking on the door or the people rustling behind her like, holy shit, get out. They would have all left her and sold her ass because they're like, well, she can take the fall for this. So imagine that. I'm thinking of like the DEA, bop, 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 knocking on the door, and then they flash, flash, flash. At this point, everybody has left the house. If the DEA had surrounded the house, people would have been caught. If they hadn't got that far yet, they got away. Helen Keller just listening to some Fetty Wap, doing a money spread on Facebook Live. She's eaten 6 flashbangs at this point. Doesn't even faze her. And they come in and they see a goddamn X-Men just standing there, resilient. And then at that point, you have to ask the question, because if they got their hands on her, was Helen Keller an asset? Let's look at the geopolitical stakes of what was happening during the duration of Helen Keller's prime. Like her sort of, I don't want to say political prime. She was not really a political figure, but her cultural prime. I guess that's going to be the word of today. Expect to hear me say culture or cultural, something adjacent to that a lot of times today. And they would have just run with that. And so then I'm going back to the idea of, what if we just put blind shit in front of people? I'm thinking of this as like a whole 60 Minutes episode. I'm thinking of this as like, coming up on 60 Minutes. Tick, 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 tick. Never mind. Folks, we got a big show for you guys today. You want to start with some hoops? You guys want to start with some basketball? I got a couple of texts the other day from 2 different people. One of them was my brother-in-law, big hoops guy. Oh, I didn't even tell you this. I got to tell you this. It's the same guy. My brother-in-law, the same guy I was about to tell a different story about. Okay, I got roped into something today that I haven't engaged in this conversation actually. I don't know how many years it's been. The GOAT conversation in the NBA, straight up. Because my brother-in-law, huge Jordan guy, I respect him, and the things that he says, I know that he believes what he's saying, and so I don't, brush it off as like, oh, this is just some fucking guy who's like, oh, I love Jordan, and he'll never see it any other way. I just know that that's his guy, right? And I obviously am, someone who's born in 1998. LeBron is the only person that I've known, and so to me, LeBron is my GOAT, right? And we got into it a little bit. I don't know, 10-minute, 15-minute conversation about it over text, and I was just so disgusted in myself for even entertaining it, because I don't fucking care. But can I throw something out there? I saw Draymond had a quote the other day where he was like, Steph is absolutely in the conversation for greatest players of all time. I don't know if I'm just being dumb or naive, but can we trust Tree? Trust Tree, real quick. You and me, get in here. Trust Tree. What I'm about to say does not leave us. I've never thought of that before. Ever. I think all of us have, of course, thought about, but also acknowledged, greatest shooter of all time. There's not a question. At this point, there's no reason to debate that. Stephen Curry, Stephen Curry, the greatest shooter the NBA has ever seen, the sport of basketball has ever seen. But for some reason, I had just never crossed the Venn diagram and been like, well, what if we just said he was the greatest player of all time? And it's like, well, what would the foundation of that be? Okay, well, if you're someone who is like, it has to be Michael or it has to be LeBron. I'm not the historian here, but if it was Jordan, okay, well, you look at the Jordan rules. And you look at, here's what a team at one point in history was able to put together in order to stop Michael Jordan from doing Michael Jordan shit. All that entailed was literally beating the hell out of him. That's all that it was if Michael Jordan touches the basketball, put him on the ground. What was it that Rick Mahorn said? Tap, tap. That meant no layups. If someone on the court said tap, tap, that meant no layups. Somebody is going into the hardwood, even if it wasn't Michael Jordan, right? I think the actual Jordan rules were like, isolate him, force him to the middle of the floor, was the TLDR of the whole thing. And guess what? It worked. It worked so well that Michael Jordan was like, holy shit, I need to start working out. I need to hit the weights. The Detroit Pistons scared Michael Jordan so much that he started working out. And guess what? He kicked everyone's ass for the next 10 years. That's what happened. With LeBron, I don't know, what was it? JJ Barea? Just be JJ Barea? Oh, not that. Just be Kawhi Leonard? I don't know. This is where the historian part of it comes in. I could call Jacob, a.k.a. Rusty Buckets, or maybe Alex Hoops. It's a little bit too late at night for me to do something like that. Surely there's something out there, but for the most part, people have had a really hard time stopping LeBron over his career, other than the 2011 finals against the Mavericks and then the 2014 finals against the Spurs. But like, Steph, what is it? This is where I'm going with the whole thing. That wasn't just for nothing. What about Steph? What have people done? The Raptors did the box and one. That worked. But like, did it matter? You know what I mean? Like, were the Warriors going to win that series? I don't know. Is this hindsight 2020? I think the Raptors were just kind of a better team at that point, which is crazy to say. The Warriors had Kevin Durant. But not really. He was hurt. And he tore his Achilles. Klay Thompson tore his ACL. It's like, I don't know. Did they need to do a box and one against Steph? I don't know. I feel like it was sort of in the air for Toronto that year and reverse in the air for Golden State that year. It is not to diminish anything that the Raptors did and their way to winning a title. Again, they were the better team that year. They deserved to win. Kawhi ended up having, in my lifetime, I'll be 27 later this year, I don't know if there's ever been in my life a single season where we went from like, this guy's probably top 10. Like, I don't know if that's where you want to put him. So like, this is the best player in the world, period. Kawhi Leonard in 2019 was the best player in the world, period. The run that he had with the Raptors, especially in the playoffs, was something that, again, I've never seen somebody who I was like, I know he's really good, but then to just be like, I'm rubbing my eyes like a goddamn Looney Tunes cat. Wait, you're not just really good. Are you the best player in the world? I believe the Raptors should have won that year. All right, so what else would it be with Steph? Well, if you're LeBron and we're like, just be JJ Barea, the adjacent analogy with Steph would be, I guess this would be a simile if it's a comparison using like or as for any of our English majors out there. For Steph, it would be just be like, see, it's a simile, just be like Matthew Dellavedova. Just be that. Because their whole strategy in Cleveland was like, just disrupt Steph off the ball for as long as you can, keep the ball out of his hands. That's it. And that was it. And that was it. And guess what? In 2015, it almost worked. Dellavedova was on the 20s. Was he on the 2016 team? Or am I just thinking of 2015? I've completely ruined this point because I don't remember. Surely he had to have been on that team. I need to look this up because this is going to be so embarrassing if I can't remember this. I'm asking Siri, hold on, because I paused. Was Matthew Dellavedova on the 2016 Cavs? Come on, Siri. Yeah, okay, yes. Then it was the same thing in 2016. Thank you, Siri, the most crucial piece of artificial intelligence that we have in our culture today. Yeah. How about Steph? How about that? Why does it? Because I feel like when we talk about the GOAT, and I'm not really saying this, in the most earnest way possible. I'm sort of just asking this, like, have you ever thought about this too? Like, can you explain to me why it can't be him? He won in 2015, 2017, 2018, and then 2021. Was it 1, 2, 3, 4? It's 4 rings. I don't know. We're doing the rings thing. The NBA, seemingly the only sport where rings are the most important thing in the world. You could be a first ballot Hall of Famer in Major League Baseball, and you've never even sniffed the World Series before. You've never even been to the Championship Series. You could be a Hall of Famer, though. You have 3,000 hits. Yeah, you can probably be in there. You have 500 home runs. Yeah, you could probably be in there. What's the landmark for strikeouts? I don't know what it would be. Yeah, you could probably get in there, though. You don't have to do it. Playoff success doesn't really matter that much in baseball in terms of your Hall of Fame. I understand why it's different. I'm not trying to be naive. I understand why it's different in the NBA because it is a more fundamentally individual sport. And so your ability to take a team to those heights is reflected on what your career has actually been in a way that is different to the other major sports in America. I think it's interesting, though. I mean, he smashed the 3-point record with, like, what, 5 years left in his career, if not more, a little bit more than that. Going to completely blow that out of the water. Nobody's ever going to touch him. I mean, I don't know. We never thought that Kareem's scoring record was going to get touched. And then it did. He scores 50,000 points, and people are like, ooh, steroids. I guess. I don't know. LeBron playing what the best basketball that we've seen from him since, I mean this so for real too, like the best basketball that we've seen since 2020. It's a different LeBron that we're seeing. LeBron's always been good. He's always been good. Forever, he's always been good. But like, we haven't seen a LeBron this juiced or this energized. I don't believe since the 2020. I keep hiccuping, dude. I'm sorry if that's picking up. Since the 2020 championship, we haven't seen it. We're watching Luka like invent points for a team that would otherwise just be heading down to the other end of the floor after like a turnover or a brick or something like that from D'Angelo Russell going 0 for 12. No. Luka's literally just inventing possessions. I don't know how else to describe it. And so when this guy, man, there's some commentary in there too about like, if you lose to the Lakers right now, you're going to hear about it for like 3 days. It does not matter what the score is. But like, if you beat the Lakers, it's not about how good your team is. It's about how in trouble the Lakers are. And you're like, oh, okay. This is fascinating. So really? This is how bad the Lakers are? Because there's an interesting thing happening, an interesting phenomena, which is the people who were like, before Luka even played a game, were like Western Conference favorites. And then maybe that's a little lofty, but they were like, this is a completely reinvigorated team. We have to now reconsider our rankings in the West and where the Lakers' place in that whole thing is. Maybe that's a better way to phrase it. And then in a different camp of people being like, it doesn't matter. They stink. And that was the evidence for them, was that they lost to the Jazz. And then they lost to the Hornets, I think is who the other team was. Yeah, they played Mark Williams. They lost to the Hornets. They lost to the Hornets and the Jazz. People were like, ooh, trouble in paradise. I don't know. It's like, yeah, I don't know. The Lakers could stink for the next 20 games. But as long as they get into the playoffs, you know what I mean? Get into the playoffs with Luka and LeBron, that's fine. It's fine. Be nice if they were good in the regular season to like help out their position in the standings and give them a slightly more favorable matchup. Is that you can feel the same way about that too? I don't know if that's just me. I've like completely flipped on the whole Lakers thing, where instead of being like, boo, villains, I'm not going to root for the Lakers. Now I'm just like, who cares? This is fun. Can I tell you how who cares I've gotten with this whole thing as it pertains to the Lakers? I don't just want LeBron and Luka to be on the same team. At this point, I'm like, why don't we just make it a whole thing and just bring Zion? I'm not here to talk about his fit as a basketball player. I do not care about that. But I'm just saying, if you want to, I don't know. We're seeing these reports. I know you've seen this. Have you seen this? Have you heard about this? If you're an NBA fan, what, Zion dropped down to 260 and trimmed his beard, and now he has a goatee, and so now I'm supposed to be like, oh my God, this Zion Williamson character. Have you seen this? Have you heard about this? Losing a lot of weight. I guess. I don't know. There's not shit else going on in New Orleans. I'm just kind of like, let's just do it. I don't know. What does it look like? I don't care. It should be funny. Luka, Zion, and LeBron all on the same team. I don't know. It's funny. It's one of those moments. I'm saying it out loud. I'm like, yeah, it's fine, but I don't actually. It sounded way more exciting in my head. copinghoursubs@gmail.com, spelled phonetically. Email available in the description wherever it is that you listen to this program. So this next one, I want to, for this email, I want to specify we're going to do a segment for the kids out there. This is a family-friendly program, very famously, and I wanted to give some shine for those of you who may not listen to every episode, or even for those who do, here's a little bit of a callback for you. We had a Nets fan chime in a couple of months ago, and he was like, "What's up? Just took my 10-year-old brother to a Nets game. It was super cool. A little older brother, younger brother, sibling bonding. It was very cool." I don't remember what that email was actually about, but at the end of it, he included a picture of him and his 10-year-old brother at the game. I thought it was very sweet. I highlighted it on the show. Loved it. Since then, Akiva is the older brother's name, has emailed in a handful of times. Well, we got an email from Akiva's little brother, the 10-year-old. You didn't include your name here, bro, because as you will hear when I read the email, he sent this from his mom's email. You didn't include your name. Was it Lev? Was it Levi? I think it was Lev. Bro, I wish you would have included it. And will you just, I'm speaking to you, Lev. If that's not your name, I'm going to feel like I'm going to feel so bad. Will you tell your brother after I do this segment to email me so I know you heard this, okay? All right, this one comes into us from Akiva's little 10-year-old brother. Subject line, NBA players backflipping. Hi, Nick. I'm Akiva's little brother. I'm sending this from my mom's Gmail since I don't have an email besides my school email, and I can only use my school email for school things. I was on the toilet today, taking a poo, and I was trying to come up with something about NBA players to think about while I take my Deuce McBride. Of course, I thought of NBA players who I think could backflip. By the way, is backflip one or two words? I don't know. My mom's not signed into Grammarly. I thought of some players like Miles Bridges, LeBron James, Karl Anthony Towns, but then I had to start to get ready to wipe my butt, so I stopped. I'm wondering who you think could backflip in the NBA. By the way, Bathroom Tom. Breaking the email. Bathroom Tom, Wizards fan Tom. Some of you may know him by his preferred nomenclature. Hot Tom getting called out here by a 10-year-old. Get him, Lev. Get him. By the way, Bathroom Tom, back to the email. I beat my friends in seeing who could poop the longest without stopping, and I challenge you to one. So that's a duel, Tom. You got challenged to a poop-off. Back to the email. Although, maybe Adam Silver doesn't want NBA players doing backflips because then they will go to the WWE. And, brother, you concluded the email by saying, when I grow up, I want to be an NBA player or the next Steve Harvey. Have a rizful day, Nick. You want to be an NBA player or the next Steve Harvey. What do you think that means? Let's zoom out on that. What do you think he means by he wants to be the next Steve Harvey? Does that mean like I want to be the next host of Family Feud? Does that mean like I want to have my own talk show? Does that mean I want to be a comedian? People forget Steve Harvey, comedian. Did he do Def Jam? Very famously, Steve Harvey, comedian. Does he mean I want to have a mustache? I want to have a really cool, like a famous mustache. Does he mean I just want to be famous for like being that guy with that voice? You know what I mean? There are so many layers to like I want to be the next Steve Harvey. It is unknowable what that could possibly mean without expressly saying what you mean by that. And honestly, it's such a great little, how do I say this? Saying you want to be the next Steve Harvey, it casts such a wide net as we just laid out. That could mean sorry, no swearing. This is for a segment for the kids. That could mean anything. You could, you're a Renaissance man. That's what it is. You want to be a Renaissance man. I like that for you. What else was there? Who do I think in the NBA could do a backflip? This is a very thought-provoking question. I would say, I don't think LeBron cannot do it. Steroids or not, he can't do it anymore. For some reason, the first name that came to mind was LaMelo Ball. I don't believe he can actually do it, But I think that he would have the most confidence in believing that he could do it. I would say the same about like Anthony Edwards, only I think Anthony Edwards is more of a front flip kind of guy. LaMelo Ball, more of the backflip type character. You want more of a deep cut. A Jose Alvarado. I would never tell Jose Alvarado to his face that he couldn't do something, because I think he would just do it. You know what I mean? If I said, Jose Alvarado, you can't do a backflip, he's gonna get like a little a milk box. Milk box? What is this? The 50s? And he'll step on it and he'll just do a backflip off of it. I'm still thinking he won't be the next Steve Harvey. Be the next Steve Harvey. I have one of my good friends, one of my best friends in the world, lied to get on Judge Steve Harvey. It's a great episode of television. It aired a couple of months ago, like back in September. They lied to get on it. It's kind of like when it's similar to my mom. I don't think I've ever talked about this on the show. I'm going to do it very briefly, but I don't know how deep into this I want to go. My mom was on an episode of Dr. Phil one time. For those of you maybe non-American based who don't have any concept of who or what Dr. Phil is, he is I don't know if he's like an actual doctor. I don't know. But he had a television program for a long time here where he would just bring people on who had issues. I mean, it was such a wide range of issues. I mean, it was people who he had on a guy who killed his own mom. You know, sometimes it's just like spousal abuse. Sometimes he'll bring on a guy who's like, I can't stop cheating on my wife. I love it so much. I can't stop. And Dr. Phil would be like, why do you think you do that? My mom was on an episode, and she fibbed a little bit just to get on the show. And then her and my sister got flown out to Los Angeles to tape the show. I was in 6th grade. This was 2009. It's January of 2009. And then it aired, and we thought it was the coolest thing in the world because my brother and I, when you are filming or like prepping to do a show like Dr. Phil, you have to film the subject and whatever their problem, quote unquote, is, right? And so some like behind the scenes, like here's what life is like being around them. And without saying why my mom went on the show, we had to film her around the clock, like doing stuff. And at one point, my brother and I, as 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds, were in a little thing that got featured on the show, but we were minors, so they had to blur our faces out. And so we thought it was the coolest thing in the world. For years, I would tell, my mom was on Dr. Phil. My mom was on Dr. Phil. We look back on it, I don't know, was that 2009? Is it 16 years ago? I think everyone in our family is kind of like, yeah, that was a thing that happened. My mom doesn't really talk about it that much anymore. If it gets brought up, she gets kind of like, I don't know. I don't know if she doesn't like to talk about it, but she just doesn't talk about it that much. It's like, you were on Dr. Phil. That was her whole life. And like Dr. Phil, she starts crying when she was on the show. And Dr. Phil pulls, he was the fucking Rolls Royce of hillbillies. He was crazy. Pulls out like a handkerchief from his jacket, hands it to my mom. You know, my mom uses it. She's crying. Puts it in her pocket. She brought that home with her. Loved Dr. Phil. Loved Dr. Phil. And so growing up, I did too. And then you grow up and you find out that he's racist. It's the same thing with Roseanne Barr. You grow up watching Roseanne and you get, what are the Connors up to this week? Dude, we were watching Roseanne. We were getting remember when Netflix would mail you DVDs? Talk about the guy who emailed in, Lev. He's 10 years old. He does not remember when Netflix was mailing DVDs. Remember, you could change the queue. We had at any given moment, 300 movies in our queue. Seriously. We would just add them and add them and add them and add them. And then you mess with the queue. Oh, this is at 27? No, I want this sent to me in 2 weeks. I bump it up to number 4, right? And guess what? Every time that red Netflix envelope would come in the mail, you tear it open. Dude, it was like Christmas. It was so exciting. It was such a fun service. And you know what we would do every single time? Burn the hell out of that disc. Guess what? Now we own this movie. Without a Paddle with Dax Shepard and Matthew Lillard and Seth Green. Guess what? Now we own this movie. Hell yeah. That's how I started watching Doctor Who. I watched the first season with Christopher Eccleston, with the first season of the relaunch of the show with Christopher Eccleston. Watched that on Netflix, and then after that, we just used like illegal streams that my dad found. But yeah, that's how I watched all of it. Netflix. There was a similar service for video games. GameFly? Was it GameFly? Is that what it was called? You guys remember that? It was the same thing. It was the same service that Netflix did, but it was just with video games. Dude, we always tried to get our parents to let us do it, but it was like they didn't hear us. Did you guys do this as a kid on your home computer? When there was like something that you really wanted, you would open up the tab. For me, that was like either GameFly or like, remember East Bay? eastbay.com. They had, sneakers and jerseys and socks. I say socks because like 10 years ago, Nike Elites and Team Speeds and all that shit, like, whoo, oh my God. We would leave open tabs on our family computer so that whenever one of our parents would go to use it, they would see that the tab is open and they would, you get what I'm saying here? You would softly condition them to be like, buy me this thing. That worked for me one time. It was Christmas. I couldn't tell you what year it was. Derrick Rose was maybe like 2 years off of winning his MVP. Like his ACL was gone. We didn't know how his career was going to go. It might have been the year before he went to the Knicks. And I bring up Derrick Rose for a reason. It was almost Christmas time. There was a pair of D Rose 4s that I really wanted. The base of it was blue and the back heel was 11 because that's how the sneaker was majority of the sneaker was one color and then the heel was a different color. It was blue and yellow was the pair that I wanted. And then I got them for Christmas, and I knew that I got them for Christmas because it was one of those moments where I accidentally found them before Christmas even happened. I don't remember how I would have found them, but I did. I was like, fuck. It was like a week before Christmas. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I got these shoes. And so Christmas happens. Oh, I'm losing my mind. Back of my head. Already knew that I got these. Was already psyched about this like a week ago, but now I'm just psyched that I actually get to wear them. Horrible to hoop in. Not good hooping shoes at all, but they were fun to wear. There was another year, my brother and I got so excited to open our Christmas presents that we just did it before Christmas happened. And then we rewrapped them. Our parents were gone, and there were presents under the tree. And we really wanted a PSP that year. Each of us, we really wanted a PSP. And there were a couple boxes that we were like, I think this is PSP. And so we very carefully like ripped open the corners, you peel off the tape, and you very slowly, you're playing like Operation, dude. You slowly pull it out. Oh, PSPs. We got them. Holy smokes. We actually got PSPs. So then you just like put it back in and then you like rewrap and you retape the presents. And then guess what happens? Christmas Day comes around. You open up the PSP and you're strategic about it at that point because you know which presents are the games and which one is the actual PSP. So you know the order that you're supposed to go in. You know what I mean? Because if you reach for the games first, your parents are going to be like, wait, don't open those. Open this one first. No, we had that shit down to a science because we knew what the... what the presents were. And so that whoa, PSP, holy shit, oh my God, fuck. Wow, impressed. Got some PSPs. And that was the kids edition of the Coping Hour, folks. What else do I got for you guys today? What did I watch? Oh, Liverpool and PSG. Yeah, Champions League round of 16 first leg. I'm going into this thing. So I got to tell you something. I started to make a community post about PSG. And in it, I was like, there's something in the air for them this year. In the calendar year of 2025, they've won 15 games. They drew once, 0 losses going into the Liverpool match. I started to say, I'm like, something is in the air for them. I think this is going to be the year that the round of 16 curse in the Champions League is broken for PSG. I think they might do something this year. And then the game happens. And for the better part of 90 minutes, you're like, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. PSG's there will be a breakthrough at some point, right? Liverpool's keeper, what's Alisson. You talk about one of the best performances that I've ever seen in my life from Alisson. Dude, the guy was a brick wall and was under constant mortar fire, essentially, again, for the better part of 90 minutes. Didn't let anything through. Gets out of position at one point. There's nothing that gets me excited more than when a goalie gets out of position and then, like, the backline defenders have to, like, spring into action like they're fucking Charlie's Angels and, like, all go back to back in the middle of the goal and not be able to use their hands, but just kind of stand there. That's exactly what they did, though, for Liverpool. And then they didn't let up a goal. The shots on goal were like 20-2 in favor of PSG, but Liverpool just got that one. They just got that one. And guess what, by the way? Who was the assist on that goal from Liverpool? It's Darwin Nunez, folks. It's Darwin Nunez, who, if you ask Liverpool, think that he plays like a 10-year-old. If you ask their fans, they think he's a little ass kid. They think he's not good. And so I'm just kind of like, hey, so what the hell is your problem? And why are you so inconceivably wrong? Or rather, incomprehensibly wrong about this thing? Darwin Nunez plays like a 10-year-old. Maybe if he was like Benjamin Button or something like that. And at this point, he's got 70 years of experience. Say he's just so la-di-da out there. That guy just won you a game in the fucking Champions League, by the way. Put some respect on his motherfucking name. And by the way, one of those instances where it cannot be both. Where, like, what is it, January? That he's like, I think I just want to leave. You guys are mean to me. I don't want to be here. And Liverpool's like, we actually do hate you a lot. You can't leave, though. It can't be both. You can't hate him and you won't let him leave. It cannot be both. Free Darwin Nunez. Shout out to him, though, for not technically winning the game for Liverpool, but he did have the assist that won the game for Liverpool. How crazy was that? It was wild. Match in hand for PSG, again, for 90 minutes. Was it the 86th, I think, that Liverpool scored? Bizarre. But then it's like, okay, well, if it's in the air for PSG, why is it not in the air for Liverpool? They've played just as well. We were halfway through February, and we were like, the league is wrapped up. They've won the EPL. Good for Liverpool. Happy for you guys. Like, nice job. Why would it not be in the air for them too, Nick? You're right. No, you're right. It was just a sort of an oversight by me. But, like, PSG, going into that game, in their last 3 games, I think in the Champions League specifically, had outscored their opponents like 21-3. Like, they're like Dembele turning into the best goal scorer in Europe that's not named Erling Haaland. Crazy. And there's another piece of it that's funny to me. It's like, wow, so the moment that PSG actually gained an identity was when they distanced themselves from the big 3 debacle of the last, I don't want to say decade, but you know, however many years it was. It's like, okay, so once Messi is like, I'm going to America, and once Neymar is like, I'm hurt all the time and I'm going to go play at a high school field in Saudi Arabia, but make a lot of money doing it. And then Mbappe's like, finally, it's just me. He gets paid. Then he's like, ooh, Spain seems pretty cool, though. You guys seen this? You heard about this? What about Real Madrid? Gone. And so now PSG is like superstarless, but they are actually playing with an identity, and they don't just have like a FIFA Ultimate Team out there. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, I guess you can't actually just have the best players in the world and expect it to work. You actually have to be able to play with, okay. It's working for them. So I don't know. Good for PSG, I guess. What else did I watch? I watched United play in the Europa League. Played Real Sociedad. It's funny. I turned that game on because I just wanted to see how United was going to shit their pants. And rest assured they did do that. They certainly did. Should have won 1-0. And then Bruno Fernandes was like, what if I did a handball in the box? He's like, would that be a good bid if I did a handball in the box? And then the official was like, I mean, if you play for Real Sociedad, yeah, that'd be a really good bid. 1-1 on the penalty. And then after that, make the argument, Sociedad should have won like 3-1. They had a couple opportunities late in that one. What else was there? I don't know. I watched a couple. There's another one in there that I can't remember. Must not have been very entertaining. I did figure something out, though. Are you sitting down? Imagine that. Imagine some asshole standing up while listening to the show. There's no way. I wish there were demographics for that. I know the percentage of men and women and non-identifiable. Non-identifiable? That doesn't sound nice. People who do not disclose their gender with Spotify is the only way that it is ever conveyed to me. I know the percentages that listen to the show. I know the ages that listen to the show. I know the countries that listen to the show. I would love to know standing up versus sitting down. It has to be 95% sitting down. But anyways, I figured out how officially I'm going to pick the next team that I root for in the Premier League after Leicester gets relegated. I know how it's going to happen. If there is a single team that Leicester, even 1 point, if they get even 1 point off of any team for the rest of the year, that's the team that I have to root for, right? Now, if you look at Leicester's schedule, it's not pretty. I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull it up super fast. But the reason that I thought that this would be smart was because, well, A, it gives me a reason to keep watching the games, despite the fact that they've completely fucking given up. But B, because if by some miracle they do manage to get 1 point off of any of these teams, I will have been doing scouting during the entire 90 minutes anyways, right? So be able to figure out, oh, I like this guy, I like this guy, I don't like this guy. So just like a quick rundown. We have the international break coming up here in a few weeks, but opponents for Leicester City the rest of the way. Chelsea, United, Man City, Newcastle, Brighton, Liverpool, Wolves, Southampton. Not Southampton. They don't count. That's my veto officially. Southampton does not fucking count. If they get a point on Southampton, it does not count. Nottingham Forest, Ipswich. I always mess that up. Ipswich. And Bournemouth. That's tough. My biggest fear is that they play United in 2 weeks. I'm worried they're going to draw against United. Because they don't have any attackers. We say Leicester doesn't. Neither does United at this point. Imagine that. I go through all of this just for 6 months from now. I'm just rooting for United. Is that funny? Would that be a good bid? I don't think that would be very fun. Big Bruno Fernandes guy. Big Delict guy. Big Luke Shaw guy over here. I think that's how I'm going to do it, though. Even 1 point. All right. Okay. Rooting for you. My favorite team in the world. Until Leicester gets re-promoted back into the... Which who knows, man. There's something to be said about that with the Premier League is like... What is this going to be, the second year in a row now? That the 3 teams that get promoted are the same 3 teams that are going to get demoted. It's just money. I think it just comes down to money. I think there's just too much. As I'm saying this, there's too much nuance here. I'm not going to be able to deliver the take that I really want to. Spotify listeners. I was trying to think about something today. I was like trying to identify stuff that I would say confidently I believe that I'm good at. And I start going down a list of things in my head, and I was like, what about this thing? What about this thing? And it was like narrating and, you know, commentary and synonyms, things adjacent to just like speaking. And I was like, is it that? I was like, do I think I'm a good speaker? I was like, even if I say something dumb, I was like, I know that I can at least talk for a long time. I was like, I don't know if that's something that I'm good at rather than something that I just know how to do. And this is not me trying to fish for compliments. I'm just walking you through like how I got to this mental exercise. So I was just thinking like stuff that you, with no hesitation, you would not push back on yourself at all. There would be no self-deprecation, that you know for a fact that you are good at. You don't have to be top 0.1% in the world, top 5% in the world at this thing. What is that for you, Spotify? Top 5% in the world. What am I top 5% at in the world? Probably getting drunk past like 7:30 p.m. I'm not good at it if I have to start earlier than that, but at 7:30, oh yeah. Once I know that like all bets are off, and it's 7:52 p.m. Central Time as I'm taping this. So the second that this is over, oh my God, I'm going to start housing them. Are you kidding me? And between the second that I hit stop on this episode and me, you know, while I'm editing it and exporting it and putting it up on YouTube and Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that shit, that's probably about an hour's worth of time. 4 beers in there. That's 4 at least. That's easily 4. I can't drink 1 beer in 15 minutes. Oh, I'm allowed to do that? Okay, why can't I drink 2 beers in 30 minutes? And then since we're already at it, 3 and 45, 4 and 60 minutes. What's the problem with that? Top 5% in the world? Yeah, easily. Now, I guess a top 0.1%er, beers in 60 minutes. 15? I don't even know. I have no idea. Apple Podcasts. What's up? What's up? Apple Podcasts. What's up? Hit you with a third one from the grassy knoll. If you are watching this on YouTube, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, nice little comment for the algorithm. Make sure to keep Primary Control in check. Been getting some emails from him recently. Asking about, I guess you guys see Stream East is getting getting the hose, getting like government takedowns. You guys been seeing that? You been hearing about that? And I will catch you guys in the next one.
Beautiful. Primary control. Beautiful. Primary control. Beautiful. Primary control.